Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP, Nick is here in attendance with me once more because today we are going to be going through our NXT recap from just a couple of nights ago. This is the 20th of May edition of NXT, live from the Performance Center as normal. So, how about we break things down, go into everything that took place throughout the night, starting off with a triple threat contest. We would see Sean Legacy from WWE Evolve. He would be going up against Ashante the Adonis and Javon Evans. So this match, basically, I don't think they ever officially announced it as a number one contenders match for the North American Championship, but basically whoever won this one was making a big claim towards that championship. We even had Ricky Saints, the champion, on the outside, at ringside, commentating on the matchup, getting involved, just like getting his thoughts on everything that took place throughout the matchup. So he was even there. So it felt like it was very important and towards that particular championship for sure. But Sean Legacy, for those who aren't aware, is a member of WWE Evolve. He's a very hot prospect. He's very, very talented. I think one of the better talents on Evolve. They've got some decent guys on the brand, but I think Sean is probably up there with one of the better ones. But he showed his quality in this matchup, as far as I'm concerned anyway. He looked very, very good. He, didn't seem to let being on NXT sort of like stop him from rolling. And he showed what he can really do and what he's been doing on Evolve up until now. But he would actually win this matchup as well, maybe a little bit surprisingly, but he would defeat Ashante the Adonis to get the pin over him in the end. This would be after a little altercation on ringside between Ricky Saints and Ethan Page. They've had a bit of back and forth over the last, I feel like it's been for 5-6 weeks now, really. This is back into Sound and Deliver sort of time, because they had a match there. But it hasn't really sort of slowed down since then. They've always had little bits here and there. So that would sort of continue into this particular matchup. Ethan attacking Ricky, from his position at ringside. And Javon Evans would go for a big dive to the outside, taking out both men. That would leave just Sean and Ashante in the ring, and Sean would hit his finish in order to get the victory in the triple threat contest. But really good way to start off the show. High pace, high energy, and just a very, very, very good triple threat. The match quality was top tier for this opener. Really, really good stuff. Maybe a little bit of a surprise for Sean Legacy winning. So welcome back to NXT. He was in the Battle Royal a couple of weeks prior, and this is obviously his first win on NXT. So yeah, good stuff for Sean Legacy. We would then go into what was I want to say a diss track or a rap segment from Trick Williams, very much focused on Joe Hendry. For those of you who might like rap, I think this was one of those cringe moments. It was basically all relying on one line. Trick would basically get the audience in order to basically sing along with him as he was singing. It just felt a little cringe to me. I don't know about you, Nick. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this particular segment. But just obviously building towards their match for the TNA World Championship at Battleground. Both men were given some sort of musical segment throughout the night, and we'll get into Joe Hendry's later on. But Tricks would be the early one here, and it was certainly something, that's for sure. Don't think it's going to be a top selling track or anything sometime soon. But just maybe a little bit of a comic relief aspect from this. I don't think it was meant to be that, but that's the way I took it personally. But it was certainly interesting, that's for sure. And that's all I'm really going to say about this particular segment. After that, we would then have a one-on-one match between Sean Spears and Josh Briggs. So Sean bringing down the culling with him at ringside. It would basically be a standard one-on-one contest for the most of it. Back and forth, decent enough job between both men. The culling were at ringside, obviously, as I mentioned a moment ago. They would play a very big part of the ending to the matchup, because they would interfere to cost Josh Briggs the contest. Brooke Jensen distracting. Izzy Dane was there to deliver a big kick. And that's when Sean Spears would capitalize and get the victory in the end. After that, we would have the culling sort of continue to focus on Josh Briggs once the match had finished, and they would sort of initiate a beatdown. That would then be interrupted by Hank and Tank. They would come to the save, or to make the save for Josh Briggs, and sort of even the odds a little bit more here. But it was an interesting segment. Josh obviously going alone now without Yoshiki and Amura. He's back in Japan. So it was essentially just sort of him begrudgingly having to go back into singles action, which, yeah, I guess you could say is a little bit rich considering how he left his former tag team partner, and that would be Brooks Jensen. Well, it probably would have been over a year ago now or so, really, when they were in sort of like a little group with Fallon Henley. But yeah, a little bit sort of like different separation this time for Josh Briggs from his tag team partner. And there were a lot of references from commentary, especially Booker T referencing how he does with his partners as well. So yeah, quite interesting this one for sure. And the culling, being menaces as always. But Hank Tank, they got the back of Josh Briggs, and they said they would, and they did. We would then go into a tag team matchup between OTM and Chase U. This is a new, different Chase U. The guys like Riley Osborne, Duke Hudson, they're no longer here, no longer around. Chase U's Andre Chase, he's sort of like been out and about, and he was very reluctant to start up Chase U again, obviously after it went down. But these two guys, they brought it back. They basically just convinced Chase to in order to bring it back together again. And yeah, it's looking sort of almost like a rip-off Chase U. That's the kind of vibe that I'm getting from it so far. Obviously, it's still early, so things can change. But my initial reactions are this is very much a rip-off Chase U. But the matchup was decent enough. OTM getting the victory here as expected. They've been sort of off the boil recently. Well, quite a while, actually. Probably the last 2 or 3 months, really. So they are very much focused, looking to get back into title contendership soon. And obviously, we'll have to just keep monitoring OTM to how they do. But so far, so good for them. A victory here. That's a step in the right direction for those. But what did you think of the start to NXT here, Nick? I think probably some interesting points. Sean Legacy. Not sure if you've seen too much of him before this one, except maybe that Battle Royal. But yeah, what did you think of his I guess singles debut really here outside of the Battle Royal? That performance from Trick Williams was certainly something. I'd love to hear what you thought about that. And then a couple of matches, obviously, after that, the 1-on-1 and the tag team. What do you think?
So yeah, I have seen a bit of Legacy. I'm working on the Evolve episode, so it is a work in progress. As we all know, there's a ton of content in WWE, so it is tough to keep up from time to time. But I have seen him, and he kind of reminds me of like the closest thing he reminds me to, I would say, would be like a Buddy Murphy, kind of what he reminds me of. But clearly, lots of talent, and has a great build, and can do things in the ring that are pretty impressive as well. But yeah, him getting the win over Evans and Adonis. Obviously, Evans was out being distracted. So, as you kind of mentioned, a potential opportunity for him to get out that North American title. I think Legacy is certainly a force to be reckoned with going forward, as are, I think, Evans and Adonis as well. I think Adonis has potential once he gets over his breakup, maybe. But yeah, this was an incredible match, and what felt like it went on forever. I think the crowd was saying "fight forever," but also felt like a few minutes just because it was that entertaining. But yeah, as if that in-ring action wasn't enough, we see Ethan Page and Ricky Saints kind of ambush outside, along with Javon Evans getting involved as well. So yeah, tons going on here, and a great start to NXT. I think it was later in the night as well. We see Ava kind of tired of all this with Ethan Page and Ricky Saints, and announces that Ethan will yet again take on Ricky Saints for the North American title. A bit of a head scratcher decision though, because it's not going to be a battleground. It's just going to be on NXT weekly show. So questionable decision there. I guess she can't do everything at PLE. But we kind of hit on this before. Ethan Page and Ricky Saints, I think, have a ton of chemistry, and I would have loved to have seen that on Battleground instead. But it is what it is. Speaking of Ava, we also see Jasper Troy and Tyra May Steele back in the back with her, signing their contracts as winners of LFG, and says that they both would have matches over the next couple of weeks. Tyra is very elated and happy, as Jasper Troy doesn't seem quite pleased with that decision and that kind of vague announcement. So he announces that he'd be making his presence felt sooner rather than later. And then Ava just kind of says, okay. So, yeah, as for the next segment and the best segment of the night, Trick Willie giving us an unbelievable rap performance. Yeah, this was a bit awkward. I consider myself a casual rap fan, but he was clearly, the lines and I didn't notice it before, but I noticed it after he kind of missed the line there. I think kind of after the first verse, and then you could hear it over, you could hear the lyrics going on, and yeah, that was a bit awkward. Um, yeah, I didn't really need this. But it is, yeah. I think I kind of viewed it as more of a comedic act as well as are the concerts with Joe Hendry. So yeah, it it was there. I don't think it's, yeah, as you mentioned, I don't think it's going to be on top 10 Apple or Spotify list anytime soon. So just kind of take it for what it is and move on. Yeah, Sean Spears and Josh Briggs. Yeah, I with Briggs kind of dedicating his performance to Inamura. I don't know if Inamura is that is I haven't known, and I didn't know if he was actually going to leave. If the end game here is for Inamura to finally come back and kind of that be a grand old thing, and they make a run. I'm not really sure, but obviously, as it stands, the numbers gained from the culling are just too much for Josh Briggs. But he got some backup from Hank and Tank, and I think they announced that for Battleground. So um, will be an interesting match. Feels kind of on the fly, and like I said, I'd rather have had the Ethan Page Ricky Saints match at Battleground. But anyways, we carry on. But yeah, this was good enough. Just felt like it was more so about Briggs not being able to hold his own in his singles match. So we then also see another backstage segment with Thea Hale and Tatum Paxley. Thea kind of mad at what happened last week and has a patch over her eye. Tatum's still not in the right state of mind, though. Quickly, Jada Parker comes by and pretends to have some empathy for Paxley, but then kind of spits in her face metaphorically and kind of laughs and walks away. So clearly, Tatum not in the right state of mind still, and Jada showing that she just doesn't care about anyone other than the title right now. Then OTM and I'm gonna call it the Timu or whatever you want to call it, bargain deal of Chase U. It just doesn't feel like it quite has the same feel as the old Judgment or the old Chase U, right? Um, Obviously that'll probably change a little bit once we get to know the talent a little better, and maybe a better story around him. But for now, it just feels very, we needed someone for OTM to take out. Here you can have these guys. I think OTM clearly going to be pushed here soon. They have a great look and a great team. Just a matter of getting them in there consistently. But I think they will be a force to be reckoned with. But yeah, overall a pretty good first half of NXT.
Yeah, not bad at all. Definitely some high points there, and yeah, I know you mentioned it. That opener was absolutely fantastic. It was a really long opening matchup, probably one of the longest matchups I think I've had, well, that I've probably seen as an opener for a weekly TV show in quite a long time. So yeah, they all killed it, and they set the pace for a nice little NXT. So how about we continue to move on then? Let's go into the rest of the action for the night. Starting off with, we would have a little bit of Miles Bourne and Obafemi. They would have a little segment in the ring. Basically, Oba saying that Miles will be just another one to fall to him. He's going to be another number, someone that he's going to overcome, and put down, as he has done with so many men beforehand. Obviously, you're looking back at the North American Championship reign that he had, and now this NXT title reign. There aren't many people that Obafemi hasn't beaten. So Miles Bourne is one of those guys. So yeah, we'll obviously see what happens there. But Miles Bourne would come out to the ring, and he would basically just go on to say that he doesn't know himself. Obafemi would basically just keep on directing his attention towards Miles, basically saying that he doesn't know if Miles is either stupid or brave. It takes a lot to stand up to someone like Obafemi. He's a very big man, very powerful, very intimidating perhaps for a lot of people. But Miles basically does a very honest thing, and he's been very honest recently, with his disability that he does have. And he would basically say that how he's not so much just fighting for himself, but he's fighting for everybody who who goes through similar things to what he is. He say that in life he's been told so many times that he doesn't stand a chance, but yet here he is, overcoming barrier after barrier after barrier, and still, getting into those high positions and overcoming obstacles left, right, and center. So Yeah, it was very honest, for sure. He'd go on to say that at Battleground he's going to shock the world and he's going to actually defeat Obafemi. So it was, yeah, a bit mix of honesty, but as well as like expectancy here. You know, and I don't think anything was really said here that you wouldn't expect to be heard. But it was just a nice little pace setter and something to look forward to come NXT Battleground, where they'll obviously go 1-on-1 for the NXT title. As Miles Bourne leaves the ring, Obafemi stands there, just watching him leave. A couple of seconds pass by, and then you've got big old Jasper Troy from LFG, the LFG winner that obviously you mentioned earlier on the show, Nick. He would come on down and he would drop Obafemi. So, he said he was going to make a statement. He's going to start, making his presence felt, and that's exactly what he did here. On his first night on NXT, he's already laid out the NXT champion. So, what a way to kick things off for him. A way to really push him to the highest level already, just in a very quick segment. But there's nothing bigger that you can do besides taking out the NXT champion. So, yeah, massive moment for Jasper Troy, and I guess maybe a precursor to what could be taking place at some point down the line, I guess we could say. Going on from there, we would then have a 1-on-1 matchup between Lola Vice and Fallon Henley. This would come after a little bit of conversation backstage between Fatal Influence and Lola Vice. JC Jane essentially putting Fallon up to this matchup and basically saying that, oh, okay, well, they were getting a little bit sort of in each other's faces at ring, in the back again. It's what they've been doing for the last couple of weeks, and that maybe the lack of cohesion isn't really there. Well, it's sort of coming to bite them at the moment. But yeah, JC would basically say, oh, well, considering how confident you are, why don't you go out there and deal with Lola Vice? So we'll go and do that now. So yeah, that would be taking place then. JC Jane actually attempted to help Fallon Henley in the matchup. She's on the apron trying to trap Lola Vice, but as Fallon was trying to take advantage of Lola would move out of the way. Fallon would hit JC. Obviously, she's a little bit concerned then about her faction partner, and then that frees up Lola Vice to hit her spinning back fist to lay out Fallon Henley. So yeah, it was a segment that you probably expect to go down the way it did based on how things are going. And Lola Vice, she wants to stake her claim at Stephanie Vicaire and the NXT Women's Championship, and I feel like that's where this is going. I feel like that's where this is leading. So we'll have to wait and see what happens from there on. But yeah, she wants to basically just deal with Fatal Influence, and she's beaten the former NXT Women's North American Champion. We then go into a 1-on-1 match. Speaking of NXT Women's North American Championship, this matchup had implications regarding that championship, and it would be Kalani Jordan going 1-on-1 with Zarya. So if Kalani was to beat Zarya here, then she would get an NXT Battleground matchup against Sol Ruka for the NXT Women's North American title. And that's exactly what she earned from this one. She would defeat Zarya. There would be another sort of ringside interaction here between all three women in various couple of little spots. And yeah, eventually Kalani would overcome Zarya to pick up that win. I think she was always expected to win this one based on, the stipulation that was in tie beforehand. If Kalani had lost, then the match doesn't take place. Okay, well, what's the point in bringing it up then? So yeah, I think, logically, this was the correct call. Zarya beating Kalani a couple of weeks ago, so now obviously it's tied between the two of them. So yeah, one apiece really. But Kalani goes to Battleground. She'll face off against Sol Ruka, and I'm sure that's going to be an absolute barnstormer. Should be a great contest. They had a great match previously for the championship, so looking forward to seeing them run it back once more and yeah, see who comes out on top on that one. But this is a decent enough match, and yeah, the right result for sure in the end. Then in the main event / the final segment, whatever you want to call it, we would have Joe Hendry's concert. So you mentioned Trick Williams one earlier on the night, not so much a concert, but a rap performance, diss track, whatever you want to call it. This would be a very typical sort of Joe Hendry performance where he'd be sat down with his guitar and he would be serenading us with a song. And yeah, it was your average Joe Hendry choice of words there. Musical performance. It did the job. It sort of called back to Trick's time with Carmelo Hayes, and there was a particular video package that they showed from I think it was a Halloween Havoc episode where Carmelo and Trick were going around a haunted house, and it was basically Trick being a very, very wimpish kind of guy at that time, and not somebody who could stand up for himself. So basically a completely different Trick to what we see nowadays. So that was quite interesting. Obviously, Joe Hendry picking that footage because of obviously how different then and now is. So yeah, Trick obviously not too happy about what he was singing about, and obviously the footage that was on the screen. He would come on down to try and lay out Joe Hendry, but actually it wouldn't go too well for Trick Williams. He would get laid out instead. He'd try and go for his trick shot onto Hendry, but Joe would respond with his guitar and just smash it against Trick Williams before laying him out with a standing ovation to end the show. It was it set the scene for their NXT Battleground matchup. TNA World Championship on the line on WWE television. That's still crazy to even think about now. But yeah, their match is basically set up and ready to go. So I guess all the groundwork is done. Let's see how the match goes then, basically. But yeah, this the second half of NXT was fun. I quite enjoyed it. It was basically just rounded out a nice NXT. What did you think of this second half, Nick? Obviously we've got a few things here. So the debut on NXT of Jasper Troy from LFG. Obviously, we've watched his journey through that show. Fallon Henley and Lola Vice, Lola making steps towards the Women's Championship. Kalani getting her title shot at Battleground, and then Joe Hendry and Trick Williams finishing things up.
Yeah, I thought the Miles Bourne promo. I think Oba said this isn't a Disney movie, and then Miles' retort was, "No, it's not, but it still does have a villain." And just a reminder that every villain does fall. So I thought that was a nice little segment there. But to me, it was more about Miles clearly showing that he's not intimidated by Oba, which I think is a great step in the right direction. I think the match will be good. But then, yeah, Jasper Troy, not happy with Ava's. You'll get a match over the next couple of weeks, taking down obafemi. Fan of him or not, have to raise your eyebrow a bit at that one. And then Lola Vice, Fallon Henley, as you kind of mentioned, yeah, probably a predictable outcome considering how the match got made in the first place. But and I felt like it was a pretty good back and forth match. But then as soon as you see Jay-Z up on the ringside there, you kind of knew the writing was on the wall there. So a distraction caused. Fallon gets the loss. And interesting, I did note that Lola did get quite a bit of hype from the announce team, saying that she at one time was the hottest talent in NXT, and kind of still trying to kind of find her footing because of the women's division being so stacked, and we kind of see that on a weekly basis. She I know you and I don't think that she has the best in-ring work and such, but I feel like she has kind of dropped a little bit, whether that be by default or just because she wasn't picking it up as fast as maybe WWE thought she would. But I feel like she does have potential to do big things, but so does Fallon Henley. So it's just like, you have these issues of where do you fit in, because Fallon Henley and Lola just sitting here fighting with no title implication on the line, I think just kind of proves how stacked this roster is. And speaking of stacking and titles, you then have the Kalani Jordan and Zarya match. Obviously, we kind of thought that would be the case, but we get a Kalani and Soul running it back. So really looking forward to that one. And several matches on the Battleground cards. So I don't think Kalani will win, but we can get into that a little more on the Battleground predictions video. I think Zarya is the end game there. And then the Joe Hendry concert. I was kind of like the Trick concert, kind of what I said there. I don't think these are supposed to be taken too seriously. I think they're just supposed to be bits in there to mix up the action and whatnot. This one obviously a little better. Obviously, he's had a lot more practice than Trick has in that aspect, so it makes sense. The end game, Trick getting involved and then kind of seeing them face to face, I think that helps the segment as well. And then of course, Joe Hendry breaking guitar over Trick Williams' knee when he was trying to get that trick shot in. So overall, I felt like NXT did a great job of setting up Battleground. Nothing here was meaningless, so that's always good to see. And I think my only complaint was that we don't get Ricky and Ethan Page on Battleground. Love to have seen that, and what I would think would be a damn near perfect card if we had that on there. But still a really good card. So looking forward to that this weekend. And Yeah, a great NXT. Overall rating, I think I would give this one. I think it's gives an 8 out of 10. Felt like it was really good. Everything, like I said, everything kind of had a point and furthered some stories. So yeah, really looking forward to Battleground this weekend.
Yeah, you're not the only one looking forward to it. I also am as well. I also gave this one an 8 out of 10. So singing off the same hymn sheet there, by the sounds of it. But yeah, I think you made a lot of good points there. This really did have sort of like a lot of things that we were working on, and nothing felt out of place. You know, it was all had a meaning, all had a purpose, and there was an element of just looking forward from every single thing that happened on the show. So yeah, that was great to see, and consistent NXT booking is obviously something that we're very used to. This was no different from anything that we've seen before. So yeah, very very good, and Battleground definitely is shaping up to be quite nice of a card. And yeah, some very interesting things that could be taking place on that show. More about that, another time. But for this NXT recap, that's basically us done here. So everybody, if you liked what we were putting out here, then please consider subscribing to our channel, putting a like on this video, and keeping up with future content that we are coming out soon. So we'll be doing some more recaps, SmackDown later on this week, as well as obviously looking forward to NXT Battleground, getting some predictions out there, and yeah, just basically setting the scene for that. Let us know in the comments what you thought about this NXT recap, whether you disagree or agree with whatever we've said. And yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts. But for next time, guys, we'll see you all in the next one. This has been The Push with Nick and KP. Catch you next time, everyone. Cheers and goodbye.